The Borgia family, originally known as the Borja family, hailed from Valencia, Spain, where they were part of the local nobility. Their origins trace back to the Kingdom of Aragon in the 13th century, and over time, they rose to prominence due to their connections with the Catholic Church. The family began to gain influence when they moved to Italy in the early 15th century. Their first notable figure was Alphonse de Borgia, who was deeply involved in the church. He was a scholar and a diplomat, known for his intelligence and political skill, which eventually earned him significant positions within the church hierarchy. Alphonse de Borgia became the key figure responsible for bringing the family to the forefront of European politics when he was elected Pope Calixtus III in 1455. His papacy, though brief, marked the Borgia family's rise to international prominence. As Pope, Calixtus III is remembered for his attempts to organize a crusade against the Ottoman Turks and for his role in the canonization of Joan of Arc. His elevation to the papacy helped establish the Borgia family in Rome and created opportunities for his relatives to assume powerful positions. Despite Calixtus III's relatively uncontroversial papacy, his reign planted the seeds for the Borgia family's future political ambitions. His role as a bridge between Spain and Italy enabled his relatives to gain a foothold in the Italian political landscape. It was this connection that would later be used by his nephew, Rodrigo Borgia, who would go on to become Pope Alexander VI and take the family to the height of its power and notoriety. The origins of the Borgias, therefore, were rooted in the family's strategic navigation of church politics and the use of their Spanish heritage to secure influence in the broader European stage. The early period of the Borgia family in Spain is tied to their origins in the Kingdom of Aragon, specifically in the region of Valencia. The Borgias, known originally as the Borja family, were part of the local nobility, and their rise was typical of many families of their time who sought power and influence through connections to the church and monarchy. During the 13th and 14th centuries, Spain was a land of political maneuvering among various Christian kingdoms, and noble families like the Borgias aimed to expand their influence through strategic alliances and service to the crown. The Borgias were not yet the infamous figures they would become in Italy, but they were respected in their local sphere. Their rise began when members of the family pursued careers within the Catholic Church. Religion played a crucial role in Spanish society at the time, and holding church positions provided a pathway to power and status, particularly for younger sons of noble families who were not destined to inherit family lands or titles. By serving the church, the Borgias found opportunities to elevate their status, particularly as the church's influence extended across Spain and Europe. It was Alphonse de Borgia, who would later become Pope Calixtus III, who most significantly marked the family's early trajectory toward greater prominence. Born in Zataiva in 1378, Alphonse was a dedicated scholar and theologian, earning respect in church circles for his intelligence and diplomatic skill. His work in defending papal interests in Spain and mediating between rival factions during a time of political instability gained him recognition. This reputation allowed him to ascend the church hierarchy, eventually leading to his election as pope in 1455. The Borgia family's early period in Spain laid the groundwork for their later rise in Italy, as they transitioned from local nobility to influential figures within the broader European Church. Alphonse de Borgia, later known as Pope Calixtus III, was born in 1378 in Zataiva, a town in the Kingdom of Valencia, Spain. Coming from a noble family, Alphonse pursued an education in law and theology, studying at the University of Lleida. His intelligence and dedication earned him recognition in both ecclesiastical and political circles, and he quickly established a reputation as a skilled diplomat and scholar. In the early stages of his career, Alphonse served as a professor of law and held various church positions in Spain, eventually becoming an advisor to King Alfonso V of Aragon. His role as a mediator in political disputes, both in Spain and Italy, helped him gain influence within the church. During a time when the papacy was divided by internal conflicts, Alphonse played a critical role in reconciling factions, which caught the attention of church leaders. In 1444, Alphonse was appointed as a cardinal by Pope Eugene IV, a key moment that would bring him closer to the pinnacle of church power. His diplomatic service, loyalty to the papacy, and reputation for integrity contributed to his election as pope in 1455 at the age of 77, taking the name Calixtus III. His papacy, though short, was marked by efforts to organize a crusade against the Ottoman Empire following the fall of Constantinople in 1453, which had sent shockwaves throughout Christian Europe. Calixtus III devoted significant attention to rallying support for this cause, though he was largely unsuccessful in achieving a cohesive response. Calixtus III is also known for reversing the trial of Joan of Arc, a significant moment in church history. In 1456, he formally annulled her heresy conviction, rehabilitating her legacy. His papacy was characterized by an emphasis on defending Christendom, but it also laid the foundation for the rise of his family, the Borgias, in Italy. He used his position to promote his relatives within the church, setting the stage for their future prominence. Calixtus III died in 1458, leaving a mixed legacy, as his papal ambitions were only partially realized, but his actions shaped the fortunes of the Borgia family for years to come. Rodrigo Borgia, born on January 1, 1431, in Zataiva, Spain, was one of the most notorious figures of the Renaissance and became Pope Alexander VI. He was the nephew of Pope Calixtus III, who played a significant role in shaping Rodrigo's career. Educated in law at the University of Bologna, Rodrigo quickly rose through the church ranks, thanks to his uncle's influence. In 1456, Calixtus III made Rodrigo a cardinal, and soon after, he was appointed vice-chancellor of the Catholic Church, a position that allowed him to amass wealth and power. Rodrigo Borgia was known for his ambition, charisma, and political savvy. He used his position in the church to accumulate vast resources, engaging in political maneuvering to secure alliances with powerful Italian families. In 1492, after a highly controversial conclave, Rodrigo was elected pope, taking the name Alexander VI. His papacy became infamous for its corruption, nepotism, and scandalous behavior. As pope, Alexander VI was determined to solidify the Borgia family's influence in Italy. He appointed his children, particularly Cesare and Lucrezia Borgia, to significant positions of power, using them to expand his political network. Cesare became a ruthless military leader and was instrumental in helping the family gain control over key Italian territories, while Lucrezia was involved in various political marriages, serving as a diplomatic tool for the Borgias. Pope Alexander VI's reign was marked by numerous scandals, including accusations of bribery, murder, and immorality. His open acknowledgement of his children and the favoritism he showed them further fueled criticism of his papacy. Despite these controversies, Alexander VI was a capable administrator and a patron of the arts, contributing to the Renaissance's flourishing in Rome. His papacy also saw significant political maneuvering in Europe, as Alexander played a role in balancing the power between France, Spain, and the Italian states. However, his legacy is often overshadowed by the moral corruption of his court and the ruthless actions of his family. Alexander VI died in 1503, likely from poison, although some accounts suggest natural causes. His death marked the beginning of the decline of Borgia power, as the family's fortunes waned without his protection and influence. Despite his controversial reputation, Rodrigo Borgia remains one of the most iconic and infamous popes in history. Cesare and Lucrezia Borgia were two of the most famous children of Rodrigo Borgia, Pope Alexander VI, and played crucial roles in the family's political and social ambitions during the Renaissance. Cesare Borgia, born in 1475, was originally destined for a career in the church. By age 18, he became a cardinal, but his ambitions went beyond the church. After the death of his brother Juan, Cesare renounced his cardinalate and pursued a military career. His father, Pope Alexander VI, supported his rise as a military leader, appointing him as commander of the papal armies. Cesare was a skilled and ruthless strategist, leading campaigns to conquer the Romagna region of Italy, where he sought to establish a Borgia state. He was known for his use of both diplomacy and violence to achieve his aims, which earned him a fearsome reputation. Niccolò Machiavelli, who observed Cesare's career closely, famously cited him as an ideal ruler in the prince. However, after the death of his father in 1503, Cesare's fortunes quickly declined. He lost his political and military power and was eventually captured and imprisoned. He escaped but died in 1507 during a military campaign in Navarre. Lucrezia Borgia, born in 1480, is often remembered for her involvement in political marriages that were arranged by her father to secure alliances. Although her reputation has been clouded by accusations of scandal, including claims of poisoning and incest, much of this is likely exaggerated or based on rumors circulated by the Borgia family's enemies. In reality, Lucrezia was a skilled diplomat who played an important role in the governance of the Borgia territories, especially during her time as Duchess of Ferrara, where she ruled with intelligence and poise. She became a patron of the arts and was known for her cultural and intellectual contributions to Renaissance Italy. In her later life, Lucrezia distanced herself from the darker aspects of her family's reputation, focusing on her role as a duchess and mother. She died in 1519, leaving behind a complex legacy that mixes both legend and reality. Together, Cesare and Lucrezia symbolize the heights of Borgia ambition and the controversies that surrounded their family's rise to power. While Cesare was seen as the aggressive and ruthless leader, Lucrezia was often portrayed as a pawn in her family's political schemes, though she eventually carved out her own legacy. In the 14th and 15th centuries, the Borgia family, originally known as the Borgia family, began their rise to prominence in Spain, particularly in the Kingdom of Aragon. They were a noble family from Valencia, with their power and influence initially stemming from their service to the Catholic Church. As part of the local Spanish nobility, the family used their connections and intellectual abilities to gain positions of importance in both the religious and political spheres. The turning point for the Borgia family came in the early 15th century, with the emergence of Alphonse de Borgia. Born in 1378, Alphonse pursued a career in law and theology, eventually becoming a respected church official and diplomat. His service to the crown of Aragon and his mediation in church matters earned him a reputation as a skilled negotiator. His big break came in 1444, when he was elevated to the rank of cardinal by Pope Eugene IV, thanks to his reputation and the political influence he had built. In 1455, Alphonse was elected Pope Calixtus III, becoming the first member of the Borgia family to hold the papacy. His election marked a crucial moment for the family, as he began to appoint his relatives to important positions within the church. Although his papacy lasted only 3 years, it set the stage for the Borgia family's move to Italy and their deeper involvement in European politics. Calixtus III focused on organizing a crusade against the Ottoman Turks and sought to restore the fortunes of the church following the fall of Constantinople in 1453. His time as pope, while brief, firmly established the family in Rome and increased their wealth and power. Following Calixtus III's death in 1458, his nephew Rodrigo Borgia became the family's most significant figure in the latter half of the 15th century. Born in 1431, Rodrigo climbed the ranks of the Catholic Church, benefiting from his uncle's influence. He was made a cardinal in 1456 and vice-chancellor of the church, allowing him to amass immense wealth and expand the family's political reach. Rodrigo's ambition would eventually culminate in his election as Pope Alexander VI in 1492, a moment that symbolized the peak of Borgia power. Throughout the 14th and 15th centuries, the Borgias transformed from a prominent Valencian noble family into a powerful and controversial force within the church and Italian politics. Their rise was characterized by strategic marriages, papal appointments, and a combination of religious and secular power, setting the foundation for their notorious legacy in the Renaissance period. In the 16th century, the Borgia family's influence began to decline, though they continued to play a significant role in European politics, particularly during the early part of the century. The family's fortunes were closely tied to the papacy of Pope Alexander VI, Rodrigo Borgia, who died in 1503. His death marked the beginning of the family's downfall, as his son Cesare Borgia, who had been the driving force behind the family's political and military ambitions, lost his power and support. Without his father's backing, Cesare's control over the papal territories and his ambition to establish a Borgia dynasty in Italy unraveled. He was eventually captured and exiled, dying in 1507 during a military campaign in Navarre. Despite the family's fall from political prominence after Alexander VI's death, Lucrezia Borgia, Cesare's sister, maintained a relatively stable position. As the Duchess of Ferrara, through her marriage to Alfonso I d'Este, Lucrezia lived out her later years in a more peaceful and respected role. She became a prominent cultural figure, supporting the arts and fostering the intellectual life of Ferrara, which became a center of Renaissance culture. Lucrezia's influence and reputation during this period helped to rehabilitate the image of the Borgia family to some extent. She died in 1519, but her legacy as a patron of the arts and a skilled ruler outlasted the more scandalous aspects of her earlier life. The rest of the century saw the gradual fading of the Borgia name from the forefront of European politics. While some members of the family retained minor titles and influence in Spain and Italy, the dramatic and notorious influence they had wielded during the papacies of Calixtus III and Alexander VI was no longer present. The Borgias became more symbolic figures of the corruption and decadence associated with the late Renaissance papacy, immortalized in various works of art, literature, and later historical accounts. Their name lived on in infamy, even as their actual political power diminished, leaving behind a complex and controversial legacy that defined the Borgia family throughout the 16th century. After the death of Cesare Borgia in 1507, the Borgia family's influence diminished significantly. With Pope Alexander VI, Cesare's father, no longer in power and Cesare's military and political ambitions failing, the family lost its dominant position in Italian politics. Cesare had been the key figure pushing the family's expansion through military conquests and political alliances, but after his fall, the Borgias were no longer able to maintain their power. Lucrezia Borgia, Cesare's sister, became the most prominent member of the family after his death. As the Duchess of Ferrara, she distanced herself from the darker aspects of the Borgia reputation and established a respected life in Ferrara. Her court became known for its cultural and intellectual activities, attracting artists, poets, and scholars. Lucrezia played an active role in the governance of Ferrara and managed to preserve her position until her death in 1519. Her marriage to Alfonso I d'Este allowed her to maintain a relatively stable life, though her earlier connections to the Borgia scandals followed her reputation. After Lucrezia's death, the family's direct involvement in major political affairs largely ended. Members of the Borgia family continued to hold minor titles and positions in Spain and Italy, but they no longer wielded the immense power they had during the papacies of Calixtus III and Alexander VI. The Borgias became more associated with the notorious scandals and corruption of their past rather than with ongoing influence in European affairs. The Borgia name lived on in infamy, particularly in works of art, literature, and historical accounts that portrayed them as symbols of Renaissance corruption, intrigue, and ambition. Over time, the family became a subject of fascination and legend, with the Borgia legacy shaped more by the scandals surrounding their rise and fall than by their actual political or cultural contributions in the centuries following Cesare's death. The Borgia family, once a powerful and influential force in Renaissance Italy, embodies a complex legacy of ambition, intrigue, and moral ambiguity. Rising from their humble origins in Spain to achieve prominence through strategic maneuvering within the Catholic Church, the Borgias reached the height of their power under the leadership of Pope Alexander VI and his son Cesare. Their reign was marked by ruthless political tactics, military conquests, and lavish patronage of the arts, which contributed to the flourishing of Renaissance culture. However, the family's dramatic fall from grace after Cesare's demise and Alexander's death revealed the precarious nature of power and the often destructive consequences of ambition. While Lucrezia Borgia sought to reshape the family's image and create a legacy of cultural enrichment, the Borgia name became synonymous with corruption and scandal, overshadowing their contributions to art and politics. Today, the Borgias remain a captivating subject in popular culture, symbolizing the darker side of ambition and the tumultuous politics of their era. Their story serves as a reminder of the complexities of power dynamics and the lasting impact of individual legacies, illustrating how the pursuit of power can lead to both great achievements and profound downfall. Ultimately, the Borgia family's history reflects the dual nature of human ambition, where brilliance and brutality often coexist, leaving an indelible mark on history.